Hey everyone, welcome to Daniel Wright's Dragon Stories, where dragons and humans unite, kindness becomes strength, and friendship creates legends. Let's begin to the story.
The scrapyard smelled like burned metal and old regrets. Owen Fletcher dragged the last container off his cargo sled, watching it clang against the others in the assessment bay. 6 months of work sat in those boxes. Salvaged wire, power cores, navigation chips pulled from dead ships floating in the outer drift. Enough to keep his ship flying for another year, maybe two if he stretched it. Station Fortuna buzzed with activity around him. Aliens of every shape moved through the massive orbital hub. Some walked on legs, others floated, a few slithered across the metal floors. Owen had stopped being amazed by it all years ago. Now he just wanted his credits and a hot meal. Fletcher, the scrap buyer, was a Tellurian, its 6 eyes blinking in sequence as it examined his haul. This is good material. Clean pulse. I can offer 12,000 credits. Owen nodded. Fair price. He'd hoped for 15, but 12 would do. Deal. Wait here. Processing takes 20 minutes. The Tellurian shuffled toward its office, leaving Owen alone in the warehouse. That's when he heard it. A small sound, barely audible over the station's ambient noise. A whimper, then another. Owen turned slowly. The sound came from deeper in the warehouse, past rows of sorted salvage and equipment. He should have ignored it, should have waited for his payment and left. But something in that sound pulled at him. It reminded him of wounded soldiers he'd carried off battlefields, the ones too hurt to scream that he walked between towering shelves of scrap metal. The sounds grew clearer. Definitely a child, crying softly, trying to stay quiet. At the back of the warehouse sat a reinforced shipping container. Heavy locks, Drathian symbols etched into the metal. Owen knew those symbols. He'd fought alongside Drathian units during the border wars. Proud dragon warriors who breathed fire and flew through vacuum wearing nothing but light shields. Their empire was powerful, ancient, and they didn't ship their people in locked cargo containers. The crying came from inside. Owen checked the warehouse. Empty. The Tellurian was still in its office. Every instinct told him to walk away. Whatever was in that container wasn't his problem. He'd spent his whole military career solving other people's problems. He was done with that. The child whimpered again. Owen cursed under his breath and approached the container. The lock was electronic, keyed to specific biometric signatures. But he'd spent 20 years breaking into things the military needed opened. His multi-tool had modifications that weren't exactly legal. 3 minutes later, the lock clicked open. The smell hit him first. Waste, fear, stale air. Owen pulled the door wide and let light flood inside. That a small dragon child huddled in the corner, chained to the wall by her ankle. She couldn't have been more than 5 cycles old. Her scales were dull green, meant to shine like emeralds but dimmed by malnutrition and neglect. Small wings folded tight against her back. Eyes too large for her face stared at him with mixture of terror and desperate hope. "Hey," Owen said softly, the way he'd talked to scared civilians. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The child didn't move. She watched him like prey watches a predator, calculating whether to run or freeze. Owen knelt slowly, making himself smaller, less threatening. He held up his empty hands. "My name is Owen. Can you understand me?" The child nodded once, very small. "Can you talk?" "Yes." Her voice was barely a whisper, rough from disuse. "What's your name?" "Lyra." "Lyra. That's a good name." Owen examined the chain. Heavy alloy, designed to hold much larger beings. The collar around her ankle had rubbed her scales raw. "I'm going to get this off you." "Okay." She nodded again, still watching him carefully. Owen's multi-tool made short work of the chain. Not a sophisticated lock, just brutal and strong. The collar fell away and Lyra rubbed her ankle, wincing. "Can you walk?" She tried to stand, but her legs shook. Owen realized she'd probably been in this container for days, maybe weeks. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. He lifted her carefully. She weighed almost nothing, all hollow bones and atrophied muscle. "Listen to me, Lyra. We need to leave right now." Quietly. "Can you do that?" She wrapped her arms around his neck and buried her face against his shoulder. He felt her trembling. Owen carried her toward the warehouse exit, mind racing. This was trafficking. Real, serious, get you executed in some systems trafficking. The container had Drathian symbols, but it was in a scrap yard on a neutral station. Someone was moving this child through black market channels. He was 10 steps from the door when alarms started screaming. Red lights flooded the warehouse. Automated voices announced a security breach in 3 languages. Owen heard boots pounding on metal deck plates. Lots of them that he ran. The station's maintenance corridors were a maze, but Owen had studied the layout during his approach. Old habits. Always know your exits. He ducked through a service hatch, Lyra clutching him tight, and sprinted down a narrow passage that smelled like coolant and recycled air. Shouts behind him. Getting closer. Hold on, he told Lyra, and she tightened her grip. He took 3 turns at full speed, jumped down a ladder shaft, and burst through another hatch into the station's lower docking ring. His ship, the Second Chance, sat in Bay 17, just 200 meters away. Security forces poured into the corridor behind him. Not station security, he realized. Private contractors, heavily armed. The kind traffickers hired to protect their cargo. Owen punched his remote access code as he ran. The Second Chance's boarding ramp lowered with a hydraulic hiss. He cleared the gap in one jump, stumbled into the cargo bay, and slammed the ramp control. Weapons fire sparked off the closing ramp. Energy bolts scorched the deck plating. Hold on tight, Owen told Lyra, strapping her into the co-pilot's seat. She looked terrified but didn't cry. Tough kid, he threw himself into the pilot's chair and fired the engines. Station control was screaming at him over the comm, ordering him to shut down. Docking clamps engaged automatically, trying to lock his ship in place. Owen smiled grimly and entered an old military override code. The clamps released with a grinding sound they were never designed to make. He'd pay for that later, if there was a later. The Second Chance shot out of the docking bay like a missile. Station defense systems came online, targeting solutions, painting his hull. But Owen had flown through worse. He rolled the ship, dove under a cargo hauler, and pushed the engines past their safety limits. 2 minutes later, they jumped to light speed in the sudden silence. Owen looked at Lyra. She stared back at him, still trembling, still scared. It's okay now, he said, though he wasn't sure it was true. You're safe. Lyra reached out one small hand. Owen took it carefully. Her scales were warm against his calloused palm. Safe, she repeated, like she was testing the word, like she'd forgotten what it meant. Owen squeezed her hand gently. He'd just thrown away his salvage payment, made himself a wanted man, and taken on responsibility for a child he didn't know how to care for. But looking at Lyra's face, seeing hope return to those 2 large eyes, he knew he'd done the only thing he could. Sometimes the right choice was the one that ruined everything else. He set course for the frontier worlds and hoped like hell he'd figure out the rest along the way. 3 days in hyperspace gave Owen time to realize how badly he'd messed up. The Second Chance wasn't designed for passengers, especially not dragon children who needed specialized care. His ship had 1 bunk, 1 food synthesizer calibrated for human nutrition, and exactly 0 parenting manuals in its database. Lyra sat in the corner of the cargo bay, knees pulled to her chest, watching him work. She hadn't said more than 5 words since they escaped. Owen tried talking to her, offering food, asking questions. Nothing worked. She just stared with those huge eyes, waiting for something. He didn't know what. You need to eat, he said for the 10th time, holding out a ration bar. Please. She turned her head away. Owen sighed and set the bar beside her. 3 others sat there untouched, growing stale. He ran a hand through his gray hair, feeling every one of his 48 years. What was he thinking? He couldn't raise a child. He could barely take care of himself. The ship's computer beeped. Incoming message on general broadcast. Owen pulled it up, already knowing it would be bad news. His face appeared on wanted posters across 6 systems. The charges were impressive. Kidnapping, theft, assault, destruction of station property. The bounty was even more impressive. 50,000 credits, offered by something called the Meridian Trading Consortium. No stipulation of alive or dead. Owen killed the screen before Lyra could see. She didn't need to know how much danger she was in, how much danger he'd put himself in. That he went back to the ship's database, searching for anything about Drathian biology. The information was limited. Dragon species required high-temperature environments for proper digestion. They processed minerals directly, extracting nutrients from crystalline structures and metallic compounds. Young ones needed specific trace elements for scale development and wing growth. Owen looked at his ration bars. Wrong temperature, wrong composition, wrong everything. And no wonder she wouldn't eat. He pulled up the cargo manifest. His ship carried emergency repair supplies, some basic raw materials, a box of mineral supplements he'd never opened. He grabbed the supplements and read the label. Calcium, magnesium, iron, zinc. It was designed for humans, but maybe it would help. He heated the supplements in the engine compartment until they glowed red hot, then carried them back on heat-resistant plate. The warmth made Lyra's head turn. Try this, Owen said, setting the plate down carefully. I know it's not what you're used to, but it's better than nothing. Lyra stared at the glowing minerals. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and touched one. Her fingers didn't burn. She picked it up, examined it, then bit down. The mineral crunched between her teeth like candy. She ate 3 more, then looked up at Owen. The first hint of color was returning to her dull scales. Good, he asked. She nodded. Thank you. 2 words. It was progress. Over the next day, Owen established a routine. Heat minerals in the engine room. Bring them to Lyra. Watch her eat slowly, carefully, like she expected them to be taken away. Between feedings, he worked on the ship and she watched. Always watching. On the 5th day, she spoke without being prompted. Where are we going? Owen looked up from the navigation panel. Frontier worlds. Outside core space jurisdiction. Safer there. Safe from what? People who want to take you back. Lyra's scales rippled, a Drathian fear response. The bad men. Yeah, the bad men. She was quiet for a moment. My mother told me about bad men. She said if I ever got lost, I should find a guardian. Someone strong who protects the weak. Are you a guardian? Owen almost laughed. Guardian? Him, the washed-up veteran who could barely guard his own sanity. I don't know what I am, kid, but I won't let anyone hurt you. That's a promise. Mother said guardians always keep promises. Smart mother. Where is she? Lyra's expression crumbled. Dead. Pirates attacked our ship. They killed mother and father. Killed everyone. Then they put me in a box. Owen felt something crack in his chest. He crossed the cargo bay and sat down beside her. Not too close, giving her space. I'm sorry. That shouldn't have happened to you. The bad men sold me. Twice. The second man was worse. He said I'd make him rich. Her voice shook. He hurt me when I cried. Owen's hands curled into fists. He forced them to relax. He can't hurt you anymore. Nobody can. You're with me now. Why did you save me? Because it was the right thing to do. Even though it made the bad men chase you. Especially because of that. Lyra studied his face, searching for something. Whatever she found seemed to satisfy her. She leaned against his shoulder very slightly, testing. Owen stayed still, letting her decide. After a moment, she relaxed. Owen, yeah, thank you for being my guardian. He swallowed hard. You're welcome, Lyra. They sat like that for a long time, while the ship flew through hyperspace toward an uncertain future. The proximity alarm woke Owen for the first real sleep he'd had in a week. He rolled out of the bunk, instantly alert, old combat instincts firing. The sensor screen showed another ship matching their course. Fust, military-grade engines. Hunter. Lyra, get in the equipment locker. Owen ordered, already running pre-combat checks. Stay quiet no matter what you hear. She scrambled into the locker without argument. Good kid. Smart kid. The other ship hailed him. Owen accepted, keeping his weapons systems warming up off-screen. A human face appeared. Hard eyes, scars, regulation military haircut, gone slightly long. Owen recognized the look. Soldier. Maybe still active, maybe not, but definitely dangerous. Owen Fletcher, the man said. Not a question. Who's asking? Name's Rains. You've got something that doesn't belong to you. Hand it over, and we can all walk away clean. I don't know what you're talking about. Rains smiled without humor. The Drathian kid. Meridian Consortium wants their property back. I'm authorized to offer you 20,000 credits to make this easy. Or I can make it hard. Your choice. She's not property. She's a child. She's cargo that got loose. Don't make this personal. Owen's jaw tightened. It became personal when they chained her up like an animal. Something flickered across Rain's face. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. You actually care about the kid? I'm not handing her over to traffickers. Traffickers? Rains frowned. My contract came through legitimate channels. Meridian Consortium is a registered trading company. They're slavers with good lawyers. Check your contract. See if they mention the kid is 5 years old and was kidnapped after her parents were murdered. Rains disappeared from the screen for a moment. Owen heard typing. The man's face returned, expression harder. My contract doesn't specify age or acquisition method. That's intentional. They wanted someone who wouldn't ask questions. I'm asking now. Then you know what you're really working for. Rains was quiet. Owen watched weapon systems charge on his tactical display. If this went south, the second chance couldn't outrun or outfight a hunter's ship. His only advantage was experience and desperation. I spent 12 years in special operations, Rains said finally. Did things I'm not proud of, because orders said they were necessary. Got out because I was tired of being lied to. He paused. This contract stinks. So I'm breaking it. But others won't. Meridian put out a 50,000 credit bounty. Every hunter in the sector will be looking for you. Owen's grip on the control stick loosened slightly. Why tell me this? Because I recognize a fellow soldier making a stand. Stupid stand, probably suicidal, but I respect it. Rains pulled up a star chart. There's a place called Haven's Ridge in the Free Colonies. Frontier world. No central authority. People there don't ask questions and don't cooperate with bounty hunters. You're giving me sanctuary coordinates. I'm giving you a chance. Maybe the kid deserves one too. Rains transmitted the data. Get there fast. You got maybe a week before someone less principled catches your trail. Why help us? Rains looked tired suddenly. Old. Because maybe if I do one decent thing, it'll balance out some of the indecent ones. Good luck, Fletcher. The transmission cut. Rain's ship peeled away, jumping to hyperspace in a different direction. Owen sat in silence, processing what just happened. Then he opened the equipment locker. Lyra climbed out, eyes wide. Is he coming back? No. He's letting us go. What? Owen smiled slightly. Because sometimes people surprise you. Even in a galaxy full of bad men, there are still good ones. Lyra took his hand. Her scales were warmer now, healthier. Like you. I'm working on it, kid. He set course for Haven's Ridge and hoped Rains was right about it being safe. Behind them, somewhere in the dark, other hunters were already searching. But for now, they had a destination. That was enough. Haven's Ridge looked like something from an old frontier hologram. The planet's single settlement clung to the side of a massive canyon system. Buildings carved into red rock faces that stretched up toward a pale green sky. Landing pads jutted out from cliff sides. Market stalls filled the canyon floor. Owen counted maybe 300 structures, housing perhaps 1,000 souls from a dozen different species. Perfect place to disappear. Is this our new home? Lyra pressed her face against the viewport, watching the settlement grow closer. For a while, Owen said, guiding the second chance toward an open landing pad. Until we know it's safe. The pad operator was a four-armed Tessian who barely glanced at Owen's fake identification codes. Credits change hands. No questions asked. Just like Rains promised, they walked down the ramp into warm, dry air that smelled like dust and cooking spices. Lyra stayed close to Owen's side, one hand gripping his jacket. Aliens moved around them, going about their business. Nobody stared. Nobody seemed to care about a human and a dragon child walking together. Owen felt tension he'd been carrying for 2 weeks start to ease. They found rooms at a place called the Canyon Rest, run by an elderly Vossian named Trell. The innkeeper had skin like weathered leather and eyes that had seen everything twice. How long you staying? Trell asked, counting Owen's credits. Don't know yet. Running from something or towards something. Owen met the old alien's gaze. Does it matter? Trell smiled, showing worn teeth. Not particularly. We all got reasons for being here. Breakfast included. Don't cause trouble, and we won't have problems. The room was small but clean. Two bunks, a basic fresher, a window overlooking the canyon. Lyra immediately claimed the bunk near the window, watching the settlement below with fascination. There's so many people, she said. Different kinds. That's the frontier. Everyone's welcome as long as they follow the rules. What are the rules? Don't steal. Don't hurt people. Mind your own business. Owen started unpacking their few belongings. Think you can handle that? She nodded seriously. I can handle that. Over the next days, they established a new routine. Owen found work at a repair shop near the canyon floor. The owner, a human named Walter, needed someone who understood military-grade ship systems. Owen's experience was exactly what he wanted. You were fleet, Walter asked, examining Owen's work on a damaged plasma regulator. Ground Forces, Engineering Corps. Good enough. Pays decent. Work steady. Welcome aboard. Lyra spent her days exploring the settlement, always returning before sunset like Owen insisted. She'd tell him about the market stall she'd seen, the children playing in the plaza, the street vendor who gave her crystallized minerals because she looked hungry. People are nice here, she said one evening, helping Owen organize his tools. Different from a station, different from most places, Owen agreed. That's why we're here. Can we stay forever? He wanted to say yes, wanted to promise her safety and permanence and all the things she'd lost. But promises like that could break. We'll stay as long as we can. How's that? Good enough. 3 weeks in, they met Grandmother Oris. The settlement's elder was a Qualian, her species known for wisdom and long memory. She approached them in the market while Lyra was examining a vendor's collection of polished stones. Your daughter has good taste, Oris said to Owen. Her voice sounded like wine through leaves. That purple crystal is the finest piece in my collection. She's not. Owen started, then stopped. Explaining was complicated. She likes shiny things. All children do. Oris knelt down to Lyra's level, moving with surprising grace for someone who looked ancient. Would you like to know what makes it purple, little one? Lyra nodded, eyes wide. Iron and titanium mixed in the crystal lattice as it formed. The proportions determined the exact shade. Oris held up the stone, letting light shine through it. Every color tells a story of what elements were present when the stone was born. Like how my scales are green because of copper in my diet? Lyra asked. Exactly like that. You're a clever child. Oris bought the crystal and gave it to Lyra, waving away Owen's attempt to pay. Consider it a welcome gift. Haven's Ridge is better with young ones around. She invited them to dinner the following evening. Owen almost declined, but Lyra looked so hopeful he couldn't refuse. Oris lived in a dwelling carved deep into the canyon wall, rooms filled with books and artifacts from 100 worlds. She served the mineral soup that Lyra loved and bread Owen recognized as Earth style. You've been here a long time, Owen observed, looking at the collection. 40 years. I came after the partition wars, looking for peace. Oris poured tea that smelled like cinnamon. Found here mostly. Trouble finds everywhere eventually. But here we deal with it together. She studied Owen over a cup. You're running from something specific. It wasn't a question. Owen glanced at Lyra, who was examining a shelf of crystals with permission. We had some problems in core space. The kind that follows. Maybe. Probably. I see. Oris was quiet for a moment. She's not your blood daughter. No. But you die for her. Owen didn't hesitate. Yes. That's all that matters then. Oris smiled. Haven's Ridge has a school. Basic education for children. Mix of species, mix of ages. Lyra would benefit from interaction with others her size. I don't know if that's safe. Safer than keeping her isolated. Children need other children. They need normalcy. Oris leaned forward. You can't protect her from everything, Owen Fletcher. Sometimes you have to let her live. The name made him tense. How did you? I still have contact in core space. Your face appeared on wanted bulletins 3 weeks ago. The charges are serious. The bounty is substantial. She held up a hand before he could speak. I have no intention of collecting it. Neither does anyone else here. We don't turn in our own. We're not your own. We just got here. You came to Haven's Ridge seeking sanctuary. That makes you ours. Oris's expression was firm. This settlement exists because people like me decided certain things matter more than credits or laws. Safety, community, justice that doesn't come from governments who don't care about us. You're saying you'll protect us? I'm saying we protect our own. Whether you've been here 40 years or 40 days. Owen felt something tight in his chest loosen. Thank you. Thank Lyra. We haven't had a dragon child here before. She brightens the place. Lyra started school the next week. Owen walked her there the first morning, nervous as any parent. The school was a converted warehouse with mismatched furniture and teachers who volunteered their time. 20 children from 10 species sat in a loose circle, learning basic math. You'll be okay, Owen asked Lyra at the door. I'll be fine. She sounded more confident than he felt. You said I need to be brave, right? Right? I'll be back at midday meal. She hugged him quickly, then walked into the classroom. A human girl about her age waved at her. Lyra waved back, uncertain but willing. Owen forced himself to leave. Work helped distract him. Walter kept him busy with repairs, asking questions about different ship systems, trading stories about places they'd been. Good, simple work that made Owen's hands useful. He picked Lyra up at midday like promised. She bounced on her feet, excited. I made a friend. Her name is Sophie. She's human, but she doesn't care that I'm Drathian. We learned about planetary orbits. Did you know some planets don't spin at all? They're called tidally locked, and Owen listened to her chatter all the way back to their room, relief washing through him. She sounded like a normal kid. Happy. Safe. Maybe they could actually make this work. That night, Lyra fell asleep quickly, exhausted from her first day. Owen sat by the window, watching the settlement below. Lights twinkled in carved dwellings. People moved through the streets, heading home after long days. The IT looked peaceful. He wanted desperately to believe it would stay that way. But old instincts whispered warnings. The bounty was still active. Hunters were still searching. Meridian Consortium had resources in reach. Sooner or later, someone would track them here. Owen checked his weapons, cleaned and maintained during the quiet evening. A pistol, a rifle, some grenades he'd rather not use near civilians. Not enough to fight an army, but enough to make a stand if needed. He looked at Lyra sleeping peacefully, one hand clutching the purple crystal Oris had given her. Whatever came, he'd be ready, because that's what guardians did. They stood between their children and the dark. Always. The message came through Walter's shop terminal on a routine supply day. Owen was elbow deep in a thruster assembly when his employer's face went pale. Owen, you need to see this. The screen showed a priority alert on the settlement's public network. A ship had been spotted in orbit. Registry matched known bounty hunter vessels. The pilot had been asking questions at the orbital refueling station about human Drathian pairs. Owen's blood went cold. How long ago? 2 hours. They'll be landing soon. I need to go. Owen was already grabbing his tools, shoving them into his bag. Go where? This is the frontier. There's nowhere else to run. Owen didn't answer. He sprinted toward the school, mind racing through options. Take Lyra and flee in the second chance. Run deeper into the frontier. Keep moving forever. He burst into the classroom, startling the teacher. Lyra, we need to go. She looked up from her reading slate, saw his expression, and immediately stood. Sophie grabbed her hand, confused. What's happening? Stay with your class. Owen told Sophie gently, then took Lyra's hand. Come on, kid. They were halfway to the canyon rest when grandmother Oris intercepted them. She moved fast for someone her age, blocking their path with surprising authority. Running won't help. Someone found us. We have to leave before. Before what? Before they follow you to the next world and the next. Oris shook her head. This ends now, or it never ends. You don't understand the kind of people hunting us. I understand perfectly. I also understand that Haven's Ridge doesn't surrender its children to hunters. Oris pulled out a comm device. Council meeting. My dwelling. 1 hour. Be there. She walked away before Owen could argue. The council consisted of 12 settlers representing different parts of the community. They gathered in Oris's main room, faces grim. Owen stood with Lyra pressed against his side, waiting for judgment. The situation is clear, Oris said without preamble. Owen Fletcher and Lyra are residents of Haven's Ridge under our protection. A bounty hunter has come to take them. We need to decide our response. We're not fighters, one council member said, a Tessian farmer named Krell. We came here to escape violence. And we'll have violence if we don't stand together, Walter countered. I fought in the corporate wars. I know what happens to communities that don't defend their own. They stop being communities. This isn't our fight. Yes, it is. The speaker was a human woman Owen recognized from the market. I came here because slavers took my daughter. Nobody helped us. She's still out there somewhere, if she's alive at all. I won't let that happen to another child. Not here. Not while I can stop it. Voices rose, arguing both sides. Owen wanted to tell them it was fine. He'd leave. They didn't need to risk themselves. But Lyra's hand gripped his tighter, and the words stuck in his throat. Oris raised her hand for silence. We vote. Standard protocol. All in favor of protecting Owen and Lyra, even if it means confronting the hunter. Hands rose around the room. Owen counted them. 7 in favor. All opposed. 5 hands. The council has decided. We stand. Oris turned to Owen. Now we need to know what we're facing. Owen swallowed hard. Bounty hunter means professional. Probably ex-military, definitely well-armed. They'll have weapons, armor, maybe backup. They won't care about collateral damage. Can we negotiate? Meridian Consortium is offering 50,000 credits. That's more than most people see in 10 years. Negotiation won't work. Then we prepare for confrontation. Walter stood. I can rally the veterans. We've got maybe 30 people with combat experience scattered through the settlement. I can coordinate defenses, Owen said. But you need to understand, people might die. Is Haven's Ridge really willing to fight for us? Haven's Ridge is willing to fight for itself. Oris corrected. If we let them take you without resistance, we're telling every hunter in the sector that we're easy targets. This isn't just about you, Owen. It's about what kind of community we are. The meeting dispersed with grim purpose. Owen sent Lyra to stay with Sophie's family in their dwelling deep in the canyon, then joined Walter and the other veterans in planning. They had limited weapons. Hunting rifles, some old military hardware people had smuggled in, improvised defenses. The canyon geography gave them advantages. Choke points, high ground, places to funnel attackers. It would have to be enough. 2 hours later, a ship landed on the main pad. A figure emerged wearing combat armor and carrying enough weapons to fight a small war. Owen watched from a concealed position on the canyon rim. The hunter was efficient, professional. He scanned the settlement, checked his equipment, then started walking toward the market district like he owned the place. Owen's comm crackled. That's him. Walter's voice. That's him. Wait for my signal. The hunter reached the plaza. Settlers moved away from him, clearing space. He stopped in the center, armor speakers amplifying his voice. Owen Fletcher, I know you're here. Make this easy. Come out. Hand over the kid. Collect a reduced bounty for cooperation. Nobody needs to get hurt. Silence answered him. The hunter sighed, clearly expecting this. Hard way then. I've got scanners that'll find you in 3 hours. I've got weapons that'll cut through these canyon walls. And I've got authorization to use whatever force necessary. He paused. But I'd rather not demolish your nice little settlement. So let's try again. Fletcher, last chance. Owen stepped out onto a balcony where the hunter could see him. She's not cargo. She's a child. The hunter turned, visor focusing. That's not my concern. Contract says retrieve 1 Drathian juvenile. That's what I'm doing. Contracts based on trafficked merchandise. You're working for slavers. I'm working for credits. Now, come down here or I come up there. Can't do that. The hunter's stance shifted, preparing for combat. Your funeral. That's when the settlers stepped into view. They emerged from doorways, balconies, alcoves. 30 armed figures, positioning themselves around the plaza. Not an army, but enough to make the hunter pause. Walter's voice echoed across the canyon. You're outnumbered and surrounded. Leave. Now. The hunter assessed the situation with professional calm. Owen could almost see him calculating odds, considering tactics. A smart hunter knew when to retreat. This one wasn't smart. He was arrogant. You really want to die for some fugitive and his pet? The hunter raised his rifle. Phoenix. He fired. The plaza erupted in chaos. Settlers dove for cover as energy bolts tore through the air. Owen ducked behind the balcony railing, returning fire with his pistol. Too far for accuracy, but enough to make the hunter split his attention. The hunter was good. Very good. He moved like Owen had once moved, using cover, maximizing his armor's protection, picking targets with precision. Two settlers went down in the first minute, injured but not dead. The hunter was aiming to disable, not kill, still hoping to minimize resistance. Owen shifted position, trying to flank. Walter and three others concentrated fire from elevated positions, forcing the hunter to keep moving. The canyon walls amplified every shot, creating a deafening roar. The hunter threw a grenade. Owen saw it arc through the air toward a cluster of settlers near a vendor stall. He didn't think, just moved, sprinting across open ground. He hit the grenade mid-air with his rifle stock, deflecting it up and away. It detonated against the canyon wall, showering the area with rock fragments, but causing no casualties. The hunter's helmet turned toward Owen, recognition in the movement. Your military explains the organization. Engineering Corps. 20 years. Owen circled right, keeping pressure on. You, Special Operations. 15 years before going private. The hunter fired, forcing Owen behind a support column. We could have been on the same side. We still could be. Walk away. Can't. I've got a reputation to maintain. You'll die maintaining it. The hunter laughed without humor. Maybe, but I'll take some of you with me. He activated something on his armor. Owen's tactical instinct screamed warning. He grabbed the nearest settler and threw them both down just as the hunter's armor released a pulse blast. The shockwave leveled everything in a 15-meter radius. Owen's ears rang. His vision blurred. He forced himself up, checking the settler he'd saved. Unconscious but breathing. Around the plaza, others were getting to their feet, stunned but alive. The hunter stood in the center of the destruction, armor smoking but intact. Last warning. Give me the kid. Owen raised his pistol with a shaking hand. Blood ran down his face from a cut on his forehead. No. The hunter aimed at him. Center mass. Kill shot. A rifle cracked from somewhere above. The hunter staggered, visor cracking. He spun, trying to locate the shooter. Another shot hit his shoulder joint, disabling his right arm. A third shot struck his knee, dropping him. Owen looked up. Rain stood on a high balcony, rifle braced, face expressionless. The bounty hunter who'd let them go was back, and this time, he'd chosen a side. The disabled hunter lay in the plaza, armor failing, bleeding from 3 precision wounds. Walter's people secured him quickly, removing weapons and disabling his comm systems. Owen approached carefully, pistol ready. Why? The hunter gasped through his damaged helmet. Worth dying for one kid? Yeah, Owen said simply. It is. Rains climbed down from his perch, rifle slung over his shoulder. He looked tired. Heard the call go out on hunter channels. Figured you might need backup. You came back to help us. Came back to stop making mistakes. Rains glanced at the wounded hunter. He'll live if you treat him fast. What you do with him after is your choice. Grandmother Oris emerged from shelter, surveying the damage. Broken stalls, scorched walls, injured settlers being helped to the medical center. Her expression was grave, but not defeated. Is it over? She asked. For now, Owen said. But he's not the last. Meridian won't stop. They'll send more. Then we need a permanent solution. Oris turned to Rains. You know hunter networks. What would make them stop? Rains considered. Only 2 things end a hunt. Target dies or contract gets canceled. You can't fake Fletcher's death convincingly enough. That means killing the contract. How? Expose Meridian. Prove their trafficking. Get proper authorities involved with evidence they can't ignore. Owen shook his head. We tried that. Nobody cares about one kid. Nobody cared about one unverified report. Rains corrected. But I've been tracking Meridian for 3 weeks. They're moving dozens of children through black markets. Mix of species, all kidnapped or stolen. I've got shipping records, transaction logs, communications. He pulled a data chip from his armor. Everything you need to prove systematic trafficking. Why do you have all this? Because after I met you, I started asking questions. Didn't like the answers. Rains handed the chip to Oris. Get this to the Galactic Justice Commission. They'll investigate. Meridian's board members will scatter, contracts will void, bounties will drop. That could take months, Walter said. Could take hours if we push right. Oris examined the chip. I still have contacts in core space. Journalists who owe me favors. We leaked this publicly while filing official complaints. Put pressure from both sides. Owen felt hope stirring. You think it'll work? I think it's our best option. Oris looked at the wounded hunter. And we have a witness who can testify about Meridian's methods. The hunter laughed bitterly through his pain. I'm not testifying against anyone. You will if you want medical treatment that doesn't involve dying slowly from blood loss, Walter said coldly. They moved the hunter to the medical center under guard. Oris retreated to her dwelling with the data chip, calling in old debts. Owen found Lyra at Sophie's family dwelling, unharmed but scared. Is it over? She asked, hugging him tight. Getting there, kid. Getting there. The next 72 hours passed in controlled chaos. Oris released the data through multiple channels. News networks across core space picked up the story. Galactic Justice Commission launched emergency investigations. Meridian's stock price crashed as investors fled. Board members resigned or were arrested. The bounty on Owen and Lyra quietly disappeared from Hunter networks. Rain stayed at Haven's Ridge, helping coordinate. He and Owen worked together, securing the settlement's perimeter, establishing better defenses for next time. Because there would be a next time. The frontier always attracted trouble eventually. You're good at this, Rains observed, watching Owen program security scanners. Organization. Strategy. You were an officer, non-com, master sergeant before I retired. Why'd you leave? Owen was quiet for a moment. Got tired of fighting other people's wars. Wanted peace. Found it. Found something better. Found a reason to fight my own war. Owen looked toward the school, where Lyra was attending classes like nothing had happened. Resilient kid. She deserves better than running forever. Kids usually do. Rains checked his equipment. I'm heading out tomorrow. Got other contracts to break, other bastards to inconvenience. You're doing this full-time now? Breaking contracts. Someone should. Might as well be me. Rain smiled slightly. Besides, turns out I'm not great at following orders anyway. Owen offered his hand. Thanks. For everything. They shook, understanding passing between them. Two soldiers who'd found different paths to the same destination. That evening, Grandmother Oris called another council meeting. Owen attended, expecting discussion about repairs or security measures. Instead, Oris presented a proposal. Haven's Ridge needs to formalize our defensive capabilities. We can't rely on luck next time someone threatens our community. She gestured to Owen. I propose Owen Fletcher as our security coordinator. Full authority to organize defenses, train residents, establish protocols. That's a permanent position, Krell noted. You're asking him to stay. I'm asking the council to offer him a reason to stay. Walter spoke up. I support the proposal. Fletcher knows what he's doing. Proved it under fire. Others voiced agreement. The vote was unanimous. Oris turned to Owen. Well, Owen thought about the second chance, still sitting on its landing pad. He could leave any time. Take Lyra somewhere else. Keep moving. Stay one step ahead of whatever came next. That had been the plan. But Lyra had friends here. She laughed at school. She was healing, and maybe he was healing too. I accept, Owen said. The council approved it with quiet satisfaction. Details followed. Salary, responsibilities, resources. Owen barely heard them. He was too busy processing the fact that he'd just committed to staying in one place for the first time in 5 years. After the meeting, he found Lyra watching the sunset from their window. The sky turned purple and orange, casting long shadows across the canyon. We're staying? She asked without turning around. Yeah, we're staying. Forever. Forever's a long time. Let's start with the next year and see how it goes. She turned to face him, scales catching the dying light. She'd grown in the months they'd been together. Healthier, stronger, more confident. I like it here. Me too, kid. Owen, yeah, can I call you Dad? Something caught in Owen's throat. He knelt down to her level, meeting her eyes. Are you sure? Your parents will want me to be happy, to be safe, to have a family. Lyra's voice was steady. You gave me all that. That makes you my dad. Owen pulled her into a hug, careful of her wings. Then yeah, you can call me Dad. She held him tight, and for the first time since this all started, Owen felt like maybe he'd done something right. Not perfect, but right. The next morning, Rains departed with a casual wave and a promise to visit. The wounded hunter was transferred to Galactic Justice custody, singing like a bird about Meridian's operations in exchange for leniency. News networks were calling it the biggest trafficking bust in a decade. Owen started his new job, working with Walter and other veterans to establish real security for Haven's Ridge. Training schedules, patrol routes, emergency procedures. Good work. Important work. Lyra thrived at school, making more friends, learning faster than her teachers expected. Sophie remained her closest companion, the two of them inseparable. 3 months after the attack, a ship arrived carrying official documentation. Owen's legal troubles in core space were quietly resolved as part of the Meridian investigation. He was cleared of all charges. Lyra's status was formalized as a ward of Haven's Ridge under Owen's guardianship. They were legal, legitimate, safe. That night, Owen and Lyra sat outside their dwelling, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. The canyon hummed with evening activity. Settlers heading home. Children playing final games before bed. Normal sounds of normal life. Think they'll come back? Lyra asked. The bad men. Maybe. Probably. There's always bad men. But we'll be ready. We'll be ready. She leaned against his shoulder, completely trusting. Good. Owen wrapped an arm around her, this dragon child who'd become his daughter in every way that mattered. He'd come to sell scrap and left with something infinitely more valuable, a future, a family, a home worth defending. The stars shone down on Haven's Ridge, and for the first time in a very long time, Owen Fletcher felt at peace. 5 years changed everything. Haven's Ridge had grown from a settlement of 1,000 to a proper town of 3,000. New dwellings carved deeper into the canyon. Expanded markets. A real school building with actual classrooms. The community thrived, and Owen's security measures kept it safe through various threats that came and went. Lyra was 10 cycles old now, tall for her age, her scales brilliant emerald green. Her wings had developed enough for short flights across the canyon. She could breathe fire in controlled bursts, a skill that terrified and impressed her teachers in equal measure. Owen was 53, grayer, more settled. The title security coordinator had evolved into something closer to community leader, though he avoided the formal designation. He still worked with Walter at the repair shop when time allowed. Keeping his hands useful, they'd build a proper home on the canyon's edge. 2 bedrooms, a workshop, a heating room where Lyra processed the minerals she needed. Walls decorated with drawings Sophie made, crystals Lyra collected, a photo of Owen from his military days that she'd insisted on displaying that IT looked like a family lived there. Because a family did. Owen was reviewing security reports when grandmother Oris arrived with unexpected news. Her expression carried weight he hadn't seen since the hunter attack. We have visitors, she said without preamble. From the Drathian Empire. Owen's blood went cold. What do they want? To speak with Lyra. They're diplomatic representatives, not hunters. But they specifically requested to meet the Drathian child living among humans. How'd they even find out about her? The Meridian investigation was public. Records mentioned a rescued Drathian juvenile. Someone in the Empire connected details. Oris sat down heavily. They're not threatening, but they're insistent. Owen found Lyra in the workshop, helping repair a damaged scanner. She developed her father's talent for engineering, understanding systems intuitively. We need to talk, he said. She looked up, immediately reading his tone. What's wrong? He explained about the visitors. Watched her process the information, scales rippling with emotion. Do they want to take me away? Her voice was small, younger than her 10 cycles. I won't let that happen. But they're my people. They might have rights. You're my daughter. That gives me rights too. Lyra set down her tools carefully. I want to meet them. I want to know about where I came from. Owen's instinct was to refuse, to keep her protected. But Oris's words from years ago echoed in his mind. You can't protect her from everything. Sometimes you have to let her live. Okay, he said. We'll meet them. Together. The Drathian representatives arrived the next day. Two adults in formal diplomatic attire, scales gleaming bronze and silver. They moved with the natural grace of their species, wings folded respectfully as they entered Haven's Ridge's council chamber. The lead diplomat introduced herself as Ambassador Sereth. Her companion was Historian Vorin. They bowed formally to the assembled council, then turned their attention to Lyra. Young one, Sereth said in Drathian, then switched to Galactic Common. Forgive me. I forget not all Drathians speak the old tongue anymore. I understand some words, Lyra replied. My mother taught me before she died. Something passed across Sereth's face. Grief, perhaps. You are Lyra, daughter of Dessa and Morin? Yes. How did you know? Because we have been searching for you for 5 years. Sereth produced a data tablet showing images. Owen saw dragons in formal dress, celebrations, a family that looked happy. Your parents were heroes of the Empire. When their ship was attacked and you were listed as killed with them, it was considered a great tragedy. Lyra stared at the images, drinking in details of parents she barely remembered. They told everyone I was dead. The pirates did. We had no reason to doubt it, until the Meridian investigation revealed a Drathian child rescued from trafficking. Vorin spoke gently. We spent months confirming details. Your age, your coloring, your parents' ship registry. It all matches. What do you want? Owen asked. Unable to stay silent, Sereth turned to him. You are Owen Fletcher, the human who saved her. I'm her father, legal guardian recognized by Free Colonies law. We acknowledge that. We've reviewed the records. Sereth's tone held no challenge. We're not here to challenge your custody. We're here to offer Lyra something we should have offered 5 years ago. Connection to her people. She explained carefully. The Drathian Empire maintained cultural centers across the galaxy where young dragons could learn their heritage. Language, history, traditions that went back thousands of years. Lyra could attend one near Haven's Ridge, a few hours' journey by ship. She would return home each day, Sereth assured Owen. This is education, not separation. Lyra looked torn. I want to learn about being Drathian, but I don't want to leave here. You wouldn't have to choose, Vorin said. You're part of 2 worlds now. Human-raised, but dragon-born. That's not a weakness. It's unique. The council discussed it extensively. Owen watched Lyra's face, seeing hope and fear warring there. She wanted this, needed it. Maybe, finally, Grandmother Oris spoke. The child should decide. She's old enough. All eyes turned to Lyra. She looked at the Drathian diplomats, then at Owen, then back again. I want to try, she said, but I'm not leaving Haven's Ridge. This is my home. Owen is my dad. That doesn't change. Sereth bowed deeply. We would never ask it to. You honor both your bloodline and your chosen family. Your parents would be proud. They arranged a trial period. Lyra would attend the cultural center twice a week, learning Drathian language and customs. Owen would accompany her the first few times until she felt comfortable. The center was beautiful. Crystal structures that caught light and transformed it into rainbows. Dragon instructors who taught with patience and warmth. Lyra was nervous at first, the only student raised by humans, but the others welcomed her with curiosity rather than judgment. Owen watched her learn to write in Drathian script, to perform traditional greeting dances, to understand the complex history of her people. She absorbed it all eagerly, growing more confident in her heritage. But she always came home to Haven's Ridge. Always ran to hug Owen when he picked her up. Always chattered about what she'd learned over dinner, mixing Drathian words with Galactic Common in excited streams of consciousness. Sophie attended some sessions with her, learning alongside her best friend. The instructors allowed it, impressed by the human child's dedication to understanding dragon culture. Months passed, then a year on Lyra's 11th cycle birthday. Ambassador Sereth returned with an official declaration. The Drathian Empire formally recognized Owen Fletcher as Lyra's guardian, granting him honorary status within their diplomatic structure. It came with protections, rights, and a stipend for Lyra's education. "You've done what we failed to do," Sereth told Owen privately. "You saved one of our children and gave her a future. The Empire does not forget such debts. I didn't do it for recognition. We know. That makes it more valuable." Sereth smiled. "Lyra talks about you constantly at the center. My dad taught me this. My dad says that. She's proud of you." Owen felt his throat tighten. "I'm proud of her too." The birthday celebration filled their home. Sophie and her family. Walter, grandmother Oris, some of Lyra's friends from both school and the cultural center. Dragons and humans mixed easily, sharing food and stories. Lyra demonstrated her fire-breathing control, carefully igniting candles on her cake. Everyone applauded. She grinned, scales flushed with happiness. Later, after guests left, Owen and Lyra sat on their porch watching the canyon darken. "Do you ever regret it?" Lyra asked. "Saving me?" "Everything that happened after." Owen didn't hesitate. "Never. Not once. Even though it was dangerous? Especially because it was dangerous. Easy choices don't mean much. The hard ones define who we are." She leaned against him, larger now, but still fitting perfectly against his shoulder. "I'm glad you chose me. I'm glad you chose me back." They sat in comfortable silence, watching stars emerge. Haven's Ridge hummed with evening activity. Someone was playing music in the plaza. Children laughed in the distance. Life continued, normal and precious. "Dad, yeah, what happened that day? When you found me in the container? What made you open it?" Owen thought back 5 years. To the scrapyard, the sounds of crying, the decision that changed everything. "Honestly, I don't know. Instinct maybe, or stubbornness. I've never been good at walking away from people who need help." "I'm glad you're stubborn." "Me too, kid." Lyra pulled out a small wrap package. "I made you something." Inside was a carving, crystal-shaped with incredible precision. Two figures, one large and one small, hands clasped. Human and dragon. "It's us," Lyra explained. "The day we met. I've been working on it at the center, learning traditional sculpting." Owen traced the delicate details with his finger. His eyes burned. "It's perfect, like us. Different species, different worlds, but perfect together." He pulled her close. This dragon child who'd become his whole world. "Yeah, exactly like us." Years later, people would ask Owen Fletcher how it all started. How a burned-out veteran became father to a dragon child. How a random moment in a scrap yard became the foundation of a family. He'd smile and tell them the simple truth that he came to sell scrap. He left with a dragon child holding his hand. Everything else was just details. The important part was the choice. The decision to see someone who needed help and help them. To stand against darkness, even when it would have been easier to walk away. To build something good from something terrible. That was what guardians did. That was what parents did. And Owen Fletcher, former master sergeant turned security coordinator turned father, had become very good at both that and the quiet evening. With Lyra safe beside him and stars shining overhead, Owen felt something he'd thought lost forever during his military years. Peace. Purpose. Home. Not bad for a man who'd only wanted to sell some scrap and move on. Not bad at all.